Hello, everyone. I want to make a short video this morning, sermon. Uh, I'm going to be in Mark 5. I don't know how far I'll read, but anyway, this is a result of somebody mentioning something to me. Brother mentioned the topic self-inflicted wounds, and as I tell people, I'll try. So this morning it came back to my mind again about what the brother was talking about. So I thought I would give it a try for him, and if he mentions it, somebody else probably needs it. So Mark 5, we'll start with 1 through 5, and then we'll see if we need to go any further. In the King James Version of the Bible, and it said, "And they came over on the other side of the sea into the country of the Gadarenes. And when he was come out of the ship, immediately they met him a man out of the tomb, a man with an unclean spirit, who had his dwelling among tombs, and no man could bind him, no, not with chains, because he had been often bound with fetters and chains had been plucked asunder by him, and the fetters broken in pieces. Neither could any man tame him. And always, night and day, he was in the mountains, in the tombs, crying and cutting himself with tombs." A self-inflicted wound. Most people, if you give them enough time, you don't have to do anything to them. They will do that themselves, and so it's so unfortunate that way. But some people, it's like going to the chalkboard, and writing with one hand and coming back through and erasing it with the other hand. It's not someone else that does them in; it's their own selves. They do it themselves. They sometimes they know that they shouldn't do something, but they go ahead anyway, and it causes them a lot of problems. We know we're not supposed to talk about people, but sometimes a person lets it slip out, and it doesn't hurt the person you're talking about. It hurts you, the talker. So I'm gonna read this again and maybe comment on some other parts of it. But the main thing I wanted to talk about was hurting your own self-inflicted wounds. You know, there's been people. Seemed like I heard in college campuses that would play Russian roulette. They'd have a little bit too much to drink, and they'd do that. One would put the gun there, click. It's getting more likely all the time that the next click's going to be the fatal one. And nobody else shot them. They shot themselves. And I see so many people that, we may blame it on somebody else, but it's the things that we've done that's causing us to be in such a hard time and a hard trial. But it said, "And they came over the other side of the sea into the country of the Gadarenes. And when he was come out of the ship, immediately there met a man, met him out of the tombs, a man with an unclean spirit." Jesus, in chapter 4, they got in a storm. So whenever he come to the other side, immediately there met a man. The man was waiting on Jesus. He was needing help. The storm tried to hinder the Lord. Have you ever knew that you needed to do something, but you got hindered? I know, like coming to church, I had two good kids. Me and my wife had two good kids. They were generally really good, but when we'd go to church, they would start acting like crazy kids, seemed like to me. And that's your tip-off that God is wanting to bless you with something. And so the man is needing help, and here comes the Lord, just in time, who had his dwelling among the tombs, and no man could bind him, no, not with chains. I've seen those kind of people that you can't bind them. You read to them in the Bible where it says, forsaken not the assembling of yourselves together, or not forsaking the assembling of yourselves together, as the manner of some is. And but they're not going to have anybody mind them. I'm my own man, and hey, I go when I can, and just kind of get off my back kind of attitude. They're hurting other people, but they're really hurting themselves. Because he had often been bound with fetters and chains, and the chains had been plucked asunder by him, and the fetters broken in pieces. Neither could any man tame him. Reminds me, I always call him Brother Tongue, because the tongue is something that no man can tame. It takes the Spirit to tame it, and to take the Spirit to tame a man like this, no man can tame him. And always night and day he was in the mountains and in the tombs, crying and cutting himself with stones. In the tombs, a place where there's dead things. I see people and they live among the tombs. They're always referring back to something that, it hurt me. Something that hurt them. Somebody did them wrong. They're always going back to things that died in the past and resurrecting them. Building a monument and a shrine to their hurts. Every time they go past a place where somebody hurt them, it kindles up that memory. And when he saw Jesus afar off, he ran and worshipped him. That's what we ought to do when we come to church. We ought to just run and be so enthused about getting to worship the Lord. But so I've kind of got on some other points about this scripture, but cutting themselves. There's people, I've explained this before, and I hope I'm not wearing it out, but I like on my computer, I like bold print, and I'll make it bold, and I'll get out of that program, and maybe the next day come back, and I forget, and I'm expecting it to be bold, but that's not my default. There's people that they can get it together. If there was somebody else in there and encouraging them, and come on, you can make it, but you ought to reach a point of maturity where you don't have to have somebody encouraging you on every. David was at Ziklag, and the people was talking about stoning him, and the scripture, I believe, said, and David encouraged himself. You ought to reach maturity where we ought not be where the things that tore us up 5 years ago tear us up now. You take little kids, they get all tore up about things. But we expect them as they grow up to reach maturity where they don't get tore up by everything. So, self-inflicted wounds. Man, I can't blame anything on anybody else, because I have done it to myself, shot myself in the foot, caused my own self-harm, and caused my own self heartache. And but work on your default. Make happiness your default. I've said before, I think that everybody's happy, but some of them hadn't notified their face yet. Oh yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy. You are to smile, because when you smile, other people smile back at you, and that'll help you a whole lot. I love you, and I hope this has helped you today. I didn't do it to replace your minister. I just did it in case you couldn't get to church. Not to replace your minister or getting to church. But in this troublesome time we live in, it might be some reason you didn't get to come because of sickness, coronavirus, laying flat on your back or whatever. I'm going to give you my phone number, 256-508-4410. If you need me, call me, but leave me a little message so I'll know who you are. You may not be in my contacts, and I don't know who it is that's calling, who you are and what it is that you might need, and I'll try to address the issue and get back to you as soon as I can. And I love trying to help people. I love you. I care about you, and that's why I'm doing these. Is trying to help somebody. I'm speaking to all that's out there watching and listening, but I'm speaking in particular to people that need this. So until we do this the next time, may God richly bless you, is my prayer.